Hi, my name is Paul Jackson. I'm a music academic living in Cambridge, England, and also a board member of the International Percy Grainger Society. I first became aware of the music of Grainger as a young boy, and like many people, knew his music through his arrangements of English folk songs, like this one, Shepherd's Hay. Grainger called those his jiggy pieces, and they certainly made his fame. But for most of his life, he thought of himself as an experimental composer, one at the forefront of modern music. And much of his life was spent realising what he called free music. Free music for Grainger was music not restricted by the set notes on a piano, such as this, but music that would glide seamlessly between notes, never stopping on one. And also rhythms that were not set, like we've just heard in Shepherd's Hay, but that will be natural, more like the rhythms of speech. He wrote about free music at a very early age, but it wasn't until the last decade and a half of his life, when he was living in White Plains, New York, that he began working on earnest in the construction of free music machines that will be able to realise his childhood dreams, that will be able to make music without the involvement of another player, straight from the composer through the machine to the listener. Anyone walking past the Grainger house in the 1940s or 50s would have heard the most extraordinary sounds coming from within. Grainger worked with his wife Ella and a young physicist, Burnett Cross, in the construction of a whole range of machines made from bits and pieces salvaged and brought from local hardware stores. Grainger made a number of machines but kept reconfiguring them, and sadly only two remained by the end of his life, both of which were shipped to the Grainger Museum in Melbourne. We've been delighted to work in the reconstruction and conservation of a number of the machines, most of which are models or trial elements of larger machines. They provide a most fascinating insight not just into Grainger's life, but into an important moment in the development of electronic music. And whilst Grainger died without realising his dreams, his experiments paved the way for a number of other composers to realise his ideas more fully. Percy Grainger was a meticulous archiver, and it is through his accounts, his drawings, and his sound recordings of his machines and his various experiments that we are able to start to put together a picture of his work in his house in White Plains.
Hi, I'm Susan Colson. I'm a longtime volunteer and board member at the Percy Grainger house in White Plains, New York. This is the house where Percy Grainger and his mother Rose Grainger moved in 1921. This house was the home and workspace of Percy Grainger for the rest of his life. For 40 years he returned here after his many concerts and travels. Along the way he collected ideas, and he never forgot his dream of building a machine that could accomplish his idea to play free music. He used and filled practically every inch of this house. As his health grew worse during the 1950s, he was able to use the living room for his free music machines. In an interesting application of the axiom, one man's trash is another man's treasure, he and his wife Ella dressed in their finest clothing and went from dumpster to dumpster, sorting through and gathering potential parts. One could never tell what sort of found treasure might be useful in a machine that existed only in one's imagination. Paul and I hope you enjoy our article about Percy Grainger's free music machines. Stop by and visit the house if you're ever near White Plains, New York.